Hey, leaders, I hope that you all have been dominating in your destiny and prospering in your purpose. Welcome to another installment of our emotional intelligence series. We are doing our leadership talks and we are focused on emotional intelligence for emerging leaders, challenging all of us to grow in this particular area if we know that this is something that we need to work on in this season of our life. If you're new here, welcome. My name is Takumbo Kulaja. Some people call me Coach Takumbo. And if you're also new here, I want you to do me a favor and go ahead and hit that subscribe button and go ahead and like this video and share this video with a friend who wants to grow as a leader. Maybe they're focusing on growing in their emotional intelligence. I want you to share this video with them, spreading the word on the ability or spreading the word on the understanding that we all need to put in the intentional work to grow as leaders. This is a great time to grow as a leader. We are never finished growing. Leaders desire to learn and to grow in every season of their life. And I told people this when we started this series that I took an emotional intelligence class in my grad school program. And it was one of the programs we had to take, or one of the classes we had to take. And at first I thought it was a waste of my time, but I realized immediately that emotions matter because it affects your health, it affects your relationships, it affects your work that you do. And so if you are not doing the intense work to grow in your emotional intelligence, it is going to hinder your capacity, it's going to hinder your relationships, it's going to hinder all areas of your life, because we have to deal with our feelings. Our feelings are real. And so what we do with our feelings matter. And being a responsible leader means being a person that is emotionally intelligent, emotionally sound, so that you can continue to thrive in the area of influence that you are called to. If you're also new here, I would love to know where you're watching this video from and what is an area of influence that you dominate in. Type it in the comments. I'm going to respond back to you. So make sure you type it in the comments so I know who exactly is watching and what area of influence you are called to. So in this particular video, we are going to talk about emotional triggers. We are going to discuss things that cause us to emotional triggers, the negative, how to navigate those emotional triggers and stress response. I'm going to I'm going to give you a definition of triggers that I found online to help ground us in the work that we're doing. And also, this particular video is to help you to be proactive. I want you to type in the comments proactive. A responsible leader is one that is proactive, one that is not reactive. If you know that you struggle in a particular area, you need to put the mechanisms in place to respond appropriately to these triggers. All of us have these triggers, and unless you are doing the work right now, you may not have identified them yet. But in this video, I want you to identify, after you're watching this video, I want you to identify what your triggers are. I want you to identify what they are and what you can do in response to those triggers. I'm going to give you some ways to navigate those triggers as well. I'm going to give you about 6 ways to navigate these triggers. And hopefully by the end of this, you will have something in your tool belt so that you can dominate your triggers and not allow your triggers to dominate you and to derail you from dominating in your destiny. Let's get into the definition of triggers. Online, it says that a trigger is a stimulus like a sound, smell, object, situation, or even an internal thought that causes a strong, often disproportionate emotional reaction linked to a past negative experience, particularly from trauma or a mental health condition. Being triggered means that the current situation activates memories and emotions from that past event, making it feel like it's happening again and causing distress. Triggers can lead to symptoms like anxiety, panic, intense fear, or other behaviors that aren't aligned with the present moment. Many of us have experienced this where you have such a strong reaction to a situation, and it's not because of what is happening in that moment, it's because of something that has happened in your past. And unless you do the internal work that is necessary, you won't know exactly what is triggering that particular response. And so it's going to be a responsibility to figure out when are the moments where you feel high stress, you feel a high level of emotions. You have high reactions. You feel your feelings strongly. When are these moments? I'm just going to list some moments that all of us need to look out for. And I'm also going to ground us in this particular proverb. It says in Proverbs 14:29 in the New King James Version, he who is slow to wrath has great understanding, but he who is impulsive exalts folly. It's better for us to be proactive and not react very strongly to these particular triggers, but to acknowledge that we do have these triggers and what are we going to do in response. So some common things that a lot of us can have emotions that are way too high for this particular moment. It does not align with the present moment. Things like, number one, getting feedback or criticism. So you need to think about, how do you respond when people criticize you? And it may be that it may not be a negative thing that they're criticizing you on, but maybe they're trying to give you feedback on something to help you get better. And you have some sort of negative response or negative reaction, or you have a high emotion, a high response to this particular moment, maybe because you have felt criticized all your life from your parents. And so now you have a mentor or you have a supervisor that is trying to give you criticism to help you in your line of work. And you're not able to take that criticism because of something that has happened in your past that you have not dealt with. Number two, disrespect. How do you feel when someone insults you or insults your intelligence or yells at you or is raising their voice at you? You feel disrespected. And so now that is a trigger. Maybe they don't mean to be disrespectful in that moment, or maybe they said something or they looked at you in a particular way that you did not find respectful. And so now it's triggering you because it's reminding you of something or a situation that's happened in the past. Being misunderstood. Maybe your intentions were not well received. Being rejected is a trigger. Dysfunctional behavior and chaos. Change and transitions. When people do not congratulate you, that may be a trigger. You need to sit with yourself and you need to find out what causes you to have high intensity, high emotions, high intense emotions. One thing that I learned this past year, I felt like I was getting disrespected in certain ways by how some people were talking to me, and it was triggering me to respond in negative ways to certain people. And I had to sit with myself and figure out, okay, what are you going to do when you feel like someone is disrespecting you with their words? What is a proper response? These are all things that we're going to have to learn how to deal with. How do we navigate these emotional triggers? We may be going through something right now that is helping us to build our character, or we are going through certain stressors in life right now to identify the triggers. And so maybe you are in a situation where you are going through certain things and you're wondering, why does this stress keep coming up over and over again? Instead of you wondering why the stress keeps coming up over and over again, you need to take notice on how you are dealing with this stress. Are you overeating? Are you overthinking? Are you overanalyzing? Are you doing something too much as a response to this stress, as a response to this trigger? What is your response? And is it a healthy response? This is us growing in emotional intelligence, being more aware of what emotions or what feelings cause us not to show up as our best selves. And so I'm going to give you some things to help you to navigate, maybe 6 things here to navigate with your triggers. Number one, awareness. You need to have self-awareness. You need to recognize, or you need to identify what specifically triggers you and why. You have to be very specific about what is triggering to you. And then also, in this particular moment, you need to not just be a person that's just thinking about how to blame this person, because that is easier. It's easier for us to blame the person, and it's easier for us to blame another person. But how about we take the time to dissect, why do we feel these feelings? Why are we having these high reactions? Identify the triggers and then go back to the why. Do that deep analysis and to recognize, okay, this may not be something that is so alarming in this moment. It may not be because of what happened in this moment, but it may be because of something that happened 5 years ago, 10 years ago. And now this trigger is exposing that you have not dealt with this trauma. You have not dealt with this situation. You have not dealt with this dysfunction. And this trigger came just as a a warning to you that you need to deal with it. That's actually the beauty of a trigger too, is that it's something that you need to deal with. It's something that you need to manage. You need to acknowledge and get the help that is necessary so that you can continue to have good relationships and good health and good working relationships with people. Number two, after you have recognized this emotion, you've become self-aware. And when you become self-aware and you're navigating this emotion, one of the things that you can do is to reflect and write it out. I feel frustrated when this happens because it reminds me of this. What is the root cause of this trigger? Number two, you're going to breathe and you're going to think before you speak, think before you react. We talked about this in our earlier videos, that we should be an observer of our feelings and not react based on our feelings. And so one of the things that has helped me, I like to think before I say something that I'm going to regret. And I'm thinking, is this emotion just, am I really going to get anything great out of just responding immediately to this emotion? Am I really going to say the best thing right now? Or can I just be quiet? Because sometimes we don't understand that you could just not talk. You can just be silent. You can just take a moment to breathe and to pause. And I think a lot of us do not take that time, and we think that we have to have a response to everything. You do not need to have a response to everything. Your response could just be to be silent. Your response could just be to close your mouth. You don't have to have the right words to say, because you may not even have the right words to say, because you may not even know fully why you are feeling angry right now, and you need to sit down and you need to process this emotion. Sometimes we like to just talk immediately and we don't really know the full picture of the story. What if something did happen to you in the 5th grade, and because you did not process this emotion, you did not sit down and sit with yourself and think and go back to the root cause of why you are triggered, why you responded in this way? Now you don't have the proper language because you wanted to respond and react immediately to a situation. Your response could be just to be quiet and to be silent and not to say anything, and to think before you speak, or maybe just not to speak at all. Number three, one of the things that's going to help you to navigate these triggers is to focus on what you can control. Sometimes the best solutions is, what can you just do in a situation? What is in your control, or what part do you play? Oftentimes when the triggers happen, we are trying to fix everything else, or a stressor that's happening. We're stressed because we cannot fix every single thing, every single moving part. You're stressed because everything does not belong to you. So you need to breathe. After you're done breathing, you think about, wait a second, what do I even have control of in this situation? Because now I'm overstepping boundaries. Now you're in a different lane that you don't even have capacity, or you don't even have jurisdiction over. Now you're stressed, you're triggered, and you're trying to operate in a way that you don't need to operate in, because that's not even your jurisdiction. And so take time to think about, what exactly do you even have control over in this situation? Stop stressing. And then another thing too, I had to think about with my triggers, to healthily navigate these triggers, I was trying to focus on other people and what they could do better, and talking about what they could do, instead of thinking about, what can I do? What can I prioritize? Because if other people refuse to change, that's none of my business. Because that actually is none of your business. What people do with themselves, whether they decide to change or not, is none of your business. You are your own business. So what is the solutions that are in your own hands, and not focusing on the person that you think caused the trauma? Maybe the situation just came up, and God used that particular person to show you, to reveal to you that there's still some things inside of your heart, and you have not dealt with it, or you're still dealing with it now, and you thought you were over it. And then something comes up as a reminder that you still need to do some work and do some development in this area. Another thing that you can do, which helped me immensely, is to stop taking things so personally. Sometimes our feelings are so strong because we take things so personally. We take things on as our identity. So someone disrespecting you, you take that as your identity, and now you are responding in such a high negative way, and you're not showing up as a professional because you are taking things so personally. Things sometimes are really not even that serious. And sometimes it feels so serious because you are in your body and you're feeling the feeling so strongly that it's enabling you to think that something is super personal, and it may not even be that deep. It may not even be, it's really not even all about you. And sometimes we think something is so much about us, and then we take things so personally. We make it our identity. We feel inferior. We feel slighted, and we're not able to get work done because we're taking things so personally. Learn to let things go. Learn to let things just brush off your back. Give grace. You're going to feel so much relief. And I know this personally when I stopped taking things so personally. And I just went about my business because I realized that things are not that deep. And especially if it's like it's a interpersonal conflict and you just met someone like 2 weeks ago, 5 weeks ago, 7 weeks ago, is not that deep. They must be going through something else. And maybe this back and forth that you have with them is just revealing that something is going on with them. And this is actually my next key here is number 5, develop empathy. Instead of allowing these situations, these triggers to harden you or to derail you or to disappoint you or make you to feel dejected and rejected, how about you start developing empathy for other people? This may be someone else's issue, and this situation came up to you because maybe you can empathize, maybe you can pray for them, maybe you can challenge them if they're open to that feedback. And sometimes you do have to give them that feedback anyways, especially if you're in a working relationship, and to not be afraid of giving them that feedback even if they don't change, because you never know when that person is going to change. And maybe something that you said to them 5 years ago has a compounding effect years later, and then it exposes something and it helps them to grow 5 years later, because everything doesn't happen overnight. You know that for your own self. Look at your own leadership development and your own leadership journey. When did things click into your brain the first time around? It didn't. And so maybe you think that it's useless to mention something to someone right now, but it's not useless. They may need to hear it now because it's going to click in their brain 5 years later, 4 years later, 3 years later. You never know down the road. It's never your responsibility to change another person, but you should develop empathy for them. You should want to help them in their own growth and development. And again, not take things so personally. And lastly, which is tying into everything, is to really focus on your own growth. If these triggers happen, I want you to focus on what you can do to grow. I want you to focus on what you can do differently. Many times, a lot of us experience negative things and we think that, oh, it's just a negative experience. And because that person is so evil, or this organization was so evil, what if you were just going through that situation so that you could look at yourself and not show up in that way? There were so many times I've had bosses that I did not really care for. And I learned that the reason why I had those bosses was because it was something to help me to figure out, okay, you don't do this when you become this leader in this particular area. You don't do this, or you do this because you have learned from a particular leader to do this and to not do this. And sometimes we don't get all the wisdom that we need to get from a situation because we're so focused on how the trigger made us feel and not on how the trigger can transform us and how we can use the trigger to change our perspective and to get new understanding, a new paradigm on a particular situation, and even a new paradigm in our leadership development and the internal qualities to help us to grow. Again, understanding what our triggers are and how to navigate those triggers, and really focusing on how we can grow as a leader, how we can show up differently, how we can model something differently in our space, is really going to help us in our emotional intelligence. Don't just be a person that's like, oh, this is triggering, and not do anything about it. Grow from it, learn from it, be proactive, learn what is something that triggers you. And so I'm going to recap really quickly what I just said. If you're going to navigate and be proactive about your triggers, you need to be aware of them, journal it, reflect. You need to breathe. You need to think before you react. Take a pause. You don't need to have words for every single thing. Just don't say anything. I think that's actually one of the best things. If you really have nothing good to say, that is like the golden rule that a lot of us brush over. If you have nothing nice to say at the time, just don't say anything, because you don't want to say something that's going to leave a lasting damaging effect. Number 3, solutions. Focus on what you can control. Stop stressing over people or over things that refuse to change. Prioritize what you can do, maintain your integrity, and just move forward. Number four, stop taking things so personally. Everything is just not so personal, and not everyone's out to get you. Sometimes we live in this victim mentality that, oh, this woe is me, and it's really not causing you to be productive. It's really not causing you to maximize your potential. It's actually causing you to slow down in many ways. You're not growing. You're being stagnant if you continue to take that mentality on. Number five, develop empathy for other people. This may be someone else's issue, and you need to be a person that is showing them grace or even giving them advice or giving them encouragement in this area, and not being afraid to share your feedback of your experiences with that particular person. And then lastly, focus on your own growth. Maybe these triggers have happened, or you've had these situations or these stresses with certain people, so that when you get in these places of leadership, you don't add these types of stresses to your people, because you know that it hinders your own growth and development. This will help you to not perpetuate cycles of abuse and cycles of trauma. So it's good for us to go through these certain stressors. It's good for us to go through certain things and not to run away from these experiences because they make us uncomfortable. But it's also good for us to be proactive and to recognize what our triggers are and how to dominate these particular triggers, and not allow these triggers to hinder us, but allow these moments to actually grow us, and to allow it to challenge us to develop in this particular area. If you learn something from this, I want you to type in the comments what you're going to do in your own leadership journey. And also be transparent. What are some triggers that you currently have right now? And how are you going to navigate in this new season with dealing with that particular trigger? Are you going to respond? Are you going to have something to say? Do you have a clap back for that particular person? Or are you going to just be silent? Are you going to tell them how you feel? Are you going to find out what the root cause is of this trigger, so that you can stop blaming everyone else for your responses, your emotions? Because really, at the end of the day, focusing on your own development is what's going to cause you to have the best leadership journey. What's going to cause you to be a transformative leader and to be a role model in whatever area of influence that you are called to lead, because people will respect the fact that you're taking the time to evolve and not be the same person year after year. I want you to share this video with someone. I want you to like this video and talk to me in the comments. I see them as well. I want to invite you to just click on the link in the description box if you want to learn more about our leadership school. We have some things coming up with our leadership community, and we want you to be a part of it. It's going to be a private group of people, so we want you to be a part of it to learn more about it first and foremost, if you are a person that wants to really grow in the area of leadership. I also have a book in the description box, How to Dominate in Your Destiny, if you have not understood where you are called to dominate and how you can grow and become more self-aware. Get that book on Amazon as well. I'm going to build iconic dreams with you all later. Love you all like a leader. Have a good rest of your day.